Hello and welcome to Magnolia Woo Unfolds It All by Chanel Miller. This is a wonder book, which means it's going to read the book out loud to us.
Listening Library presents Magnolia Woo Unfolds It All. This is the author, Chanel Miller. To my sister, 2 peas in a pod, taking on the world. Zhang Xiao Xia and Zhang Xiao San. The Bingqiling Bubble's birthday. Magnolia Woo was almost 10. She was eager to turn 10 because the number 9 looked like a sprout coming out of the ground, small and easily stomped. 10 was a strong, 2-digit number that looked like a sword and a shield that belonged to someone who was about to conquer the world. But Magnolia Woo was not about to conquer the world, because all summer she'd been stuck inside Bingqiling Bubble's laundromat, where her parents had worked since she was born, and there would be no birthday party. Magnolia did not have a single friend in New York City. This was not an observation to be mean. If anybody asked her, she would have said the same thing. She used to have one friend, but that friend moved away to the suburbs because of grass. Many families moved out of the city to be closer to grass. In addition to being alone,
Pause right there. Where do you live? Do you live in an area that has grass? Or do you live in a city where there's not a lot of grass? Why is it important to have grass in your neighborhood? Sorry, just moving my computer a little bit. Why is it important to live in a community that has grass? Maybe you can play soccer or other various sports that you might not be able to play in a city. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't play soccer in a city, but there's less parks than there are in an area that has more grass.
hot. It was so hot that snails nearly melted on the sidewalk and chickens seemed to be panting. Magnolia sweat on her nose, behind her knees, even inside her belly button. Her internal organs boiled like sweet potatoes. At least that's what she felt like. Magnolia crouched on the floor of the laundromat, stretching her arm beneath the washing machine until she found what she was looking for, a single sock. She pulled out the dusty sock, took a thumbtack from a wooden box, and pinned the sock onto a bulletin board. The board was full of lost socks, solo and abandoned, separated from their pairs. To Magnolia, each sock was a mystery, and she waited for the day that their owners would return to claim them. She wondered where the socks had been, if they trekked through mud or snow, climbed a flowering hillside, or danced on Broadway stages. But so far, no one had come back, the socks forgotten or replaced by whatever other important things adults were out there doing. As Magnolia stared at the socks on this very hot day, she began to wonder if she was silly for thinking they'd lead to anything. Most of her classmates were on vacation for the summer, which meant lobster rolls and berry picking and frog catching in boats with napkin white sails. Meanwhile, Magnolia collected quarters from the washers and dryers, helped her parents sift through the mail, and restocked the detergent. As she looked around at the spinning machines, she wondered if she'd be stuck here the rest of her life, inside a loop of endless loads and the comings and goings of customers. Magnolia used to be excited by her daily tasks. When she was little, Magnolia's mom fed clothes into the circular mouths of the washing machines, pretending they were robots that slurped up sleeves. Mr. Wu rolled Magnolia around in the metal laundry cart that he nicknamed the Cage Ferrari. They made paper sailor hats and pretended they were in a submarine, staring into the washing machine window like it was a dark and stormy sea. She was even allowed to paint a fire-breathing dragon on the laundry delivery cart attached to his bicycle, but it came out looking like a lizard barfing orange juice. Whenever Magnolia asked her mom why they never went on vacation, Mrs. Wu's answer was always the same. No time, too busy, too expensive.
Can you make a connection to this parent quote? Have you ever asked your family to go on a vacation and your parents were like, we don't have any time, or we're too busy with our sports schedule or my work schedule, or this big one, it's too expensive? I'll tell you right now, if I had the money to go to Hawaii every single year, I would, but not every family is that fortunate. And maybe not just Hawaii, but other Europe trips, like to go to Italy or Paris or Japan, Tokyo, Japan. All those trips, they cost money, okay? You have to get a flight, you have to get a hotel, transportation. It's a lot of money. Have your parents ever said things like this?
The only times she'd seen her mom rest were when she watched movies on her laptop or snacked on dried salted plums on the phone with Auntie May. Magnolia hoped they could at least create a spa day, placing cucumber slices over their eyes, but knew her mom would never waste food by putting it on her face like that. Luckily, Magnolia had Mr. Pants, the family dog. The Woos hadn't planned on getting a dog, since dogs shed hair on clothes and hair, causes customers to sneeze, and customers write bad reviews on the internet. But one winter night, he wandered in and burrowed beneath a warm pile of laundry. The next morning, he emerged with a pair of pants on his head and secured his position in the family. So this was how the days passed, full of heat, dangling socks, a sleeping dog, and rumbling machines, while her dad pedaled through the city making deliveries, and her mom folded mountains of clothes until the sky turned black. On the morning Magnolia turned 10, she decided that if she was going to be stuck all summer in the Big Apple, she'd find a way to be a wild worm, freely wiggling and chewing through all of it. She pocketed some crumpled dollar bills to buy soft pretzels from a nearby street vendor, then licked chunks of salt off the pretzel's skin. Her eyes followed the clouds that grazed past the tip of the Empire State Building, half hoping they would pop. She sculpted gray sharks out of Dryerland, displayed them in a line atop the cash register. Finally, she illustrated a frowning chimney on their no-smoking sign. Then she was out of things to do. Right around lunchtime, Mr. Wu emerged from the back room, yelling, "Happy birthday!" He'd safety pinned candy around a cloth tape measure and draped it like a necklace around Magnolia's neck. Mrs. Wu presented Magnolia with a bowl of red bean ice cream in one hand, a thick scented candle in the other. Mrs. Wu believed that birthday candles were a needless expense. If they already had large scented candles, Magnolia could blow those out instead. A candle is a candle. Why buy teeny tiny ones? She said. Magnolia hesitated before blowing it out, knowing that as soon as she did, her parents' attention would be pulled back into work. So she took a long inhale and blew out the candle with her nose to amuse her dad. She assumed that was it, that the day would return to its regular programming, but Mrs. Wu said, "I have a surprise." Mrs. Wu said that her old friend, Ms. Lamb, had recently moved to New York from Santa Cruz, California, and she had a daughter Magnolia's age named Iris. Usually, when Mrs. Wu tried to set Magnolia up with one of her friend's kids, it was not good. That was called a forced friendship, and the chances that their stars would align were extremely low. Once, Magnolia met one of her mom's friend's kids named Kyle. Kyle showed her his ant farm, and it looked like if you took the period at the end of a sentence and poured about 2,000 of them into a glass box. All the ants were so dry and dead in there that Magnolia lost all trust in her mom to make proper friend arrangements. "That's nice," said Magnolia. "I'm happy to meet her someday." "You'll meet her today. She's on her way over," said Mrs. Wu. "Ms. Lamb is picking up her laundry, and she's bringing Iris." "Here? She's coming here," said Magnolia. Magnolia had never been comfortable with people her age visiting the laundromat. In fact, whenever a classmate entered, Magnolia ducked below the counter or burrowed inside a pile of clothing to hide. She wasn't proud of this, but felt it was necessary for her social survival.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where you see people your age entering or even in the same area as you, and you kind of get awkward or uncomfortable, like, oh, they know I shop here now, or oh my God, they're going to know I work at this laundromat, and now she's embarrassed? How do you feel in a social setting when peers arrive or kids your age kind of show up? Are you eager and excited to talk with them, or are you like Magnolia and try to hide yourself from them?
At school, a boy named Aspen had a habit of tossing his hoodies at her and saying, "I'll give you $2 to wash this." When she told him to stop, he'd smile and say, "What? I thought your parents made a living off of sweaty clothing." When Magnolia saw the laundromat through a classmate's eyes, she became self-conscious of the smallest things. The Christmas ornaments dangling from their potted plants year-round, the statue of Guanggong in his shrine, surrounded by oranges and burning incense set out as offerings, the pile of strangers' underwear stacked on the counter, the recycled peanut butter jars they used as pencil holders, the way her dad wore a Snoopy sweater and floppy sandals, while other dads strode down the street buttoned up in crisp collars and polished shoes. "Can't I meet her somewhere else?" said Magnolia. Just then, the bell above the door tingled. In walked a small woman in a maroon tracksuit, stamped with the words, "Salty Muscles," followed by a girl Magnolia's age. Miss Lamb was an aerobics instructor at Salty Muscles Fitness Studio down the street. To Magnolia, the name sounded like a seafood restaurant, but sweat was technically salty, so she supposed it made sense. "Ah, is that Magnolia?" said Miss Lamb. "You may not remember, but I met you when you were this big." Ms. Lamb held out her hands as if she were holding an invisible loaf of bread. Magnolia obviously did not remember meeting her, because when you're a baby, your brain is basically a lump of silly putty. "Ms. Lamb helped us when we moved in," said Mrs. Wu, carried a washing machine over her head. Mrs. Wu handed Ms. Lamb her folded bag of laundry, and the two moms began catching up, which left Magnolia alone with Iris.
Okay, I can guarantee you can make a connection to that. When your parent meets another parent and they just start talking, and then you're like, oh my gosh, now I'm just going to stand here. Parents do that quite often when they see old friends, right? They do that little catch-up conversation and they just start talking, and you just kind of stand there awkwardly like, who is this lady and why are we talking to her? But can you make a connection to that? Have your parents ever done that? Whether you're shopping at a grocery store and your parents like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you since high school. How have you been? Or maybe you're walking at the park and you're like, no way, is that John? And then you just start talking to John, and you're kind of just awkwardly standing there like, okay, I'm still here.
Iris looked at Magnolia but did not say a word. "So," said Magnolia, "both of our names are flowers." "I sometimes wish my name was Rachel," said Iris. Magnolia brushed this comment aside and made another attempt. "What's Santa Cruz like?" said Magnolia. "It's like heaven, I guess. Blue ocean, white clouds." "How are you liking New York City?" said Magnolia. Iris made a small frown. "The subway is too crowded. The air smells like baked diapers. The other day, I saw a dead rat in a puddle.
Ew.
Guts floating everywhere."
Could you imagine this, talking about a subway? It smells like baked diapers. So diapers already smell stinky. I don't know if you have a younger sibling or you've ever met a baby that has a pooped diaper. And imagine it baking in the sun. How awful that must smell. Almost like a porta potty. And the other day she saw a dead rat in a puddle, guts floating everywhere. Oh, could you imagine how disgusting that is? I don't know if you've ever ridden the subway in a big city, maybe like Chicago or something like that, but doesn't make it sound so welcoming and friendly or good smelling.
"She's a grass person," thought Magnolia. "The city has everything you need," said Magnolia. "Name one thing the city doesn't have." "A mountain," said Iris. "Who needs mountains?" Magnolia thought. "You can glide up elevators and get better views." She was about to give up befriending a girl who insisted on insulting her home. But then Mr. Pants trotted over and licked Iris's hand, and Iris did not say, ew. She said, hello, Tutu, and Magnolia warmed up to her in that instant. I'll show you around, said Magnolia. Magnolia pointed out the cooler of lychee popsicles and bins of black sesame, red bean, and matcha ice cream below the counter. Hing Chiling in Chinese meant ice cream, which the Woos kept for customers to enjoy while waiting. Magnolia was only allowed to eat one popsicle a day. She used to secretly eat two, throwing one popsicle stick in the trash and burying the second stick outside to hide the evidence. But one day, Mr. Pants dug up enough popsicle sticks to build a fire, and woo, her mom was mad. Magnolia showed Iris the pencil marks in the door frame where her dad had measured Magnolia's growth, an asterisk beside the lines where she'd been measured with shoes on. She poured blue liquid laundry detergent into a cup and called it alien saliva. She stood on a chair and pulled down her shoebox of secret messages that was full of crumpled notes, receipts, and ticket stubs that had fallen out of customers' pockets, along with chapsticks, batteries, foreign coins, crayons, and cough drops. Iris picked a seashell out of the box and admired it. Finally, I present to you the sockboard, said Magnolia. Magnolia swept her arm across her proudest contribution to the laundromat. Iris took a moment to look over the entire collection. Has anybody ever come back to get them? Said Iris.
I don't know if you can make a connection if you help with your laundry or not, but socks are the most highly eaten thing in the dryer in the Neeley household. Every time, especially kids' socks, go missing every once in a while, especially the cool ones like our excavator dinosaur socks. Yes, they are a thing. You can look them up on Amazon. Or infant socks specifically. Dre right now has about 20 unmatched socks due to being eaten by the dryer. No one knows where they go except into the belly of the dryer, to the belly of the unknown. So you can only imagine all the hopeless socks that don't find a pair at the laundromat.
Magnolia shook her head. Not yet. I'm worried they're lonely. I just have to be patient. Miss Lamb came over and squeezed Iris, and Magnolia noticed her bicep was the size of a lemon. It was miraculous. I'll pick you up later this afternoon, said Ms. Lamb. Have fun with your new friend. As soon as Ms. Lamb left, Iris looked a little sad. It occurred to Magnolia that maybe Iris had been bitter about New York because she was homesick, and that feeling was tainting her view of everything glorious the city had to offer. Magnolia was confident Iris would love the city if she just got to know it better first. Magnolia took out 2 lychee popsicles for them to enjoy. Let's play cocoons, said Magnolia. We wrap our entire bodies in sheets, then bust out and flap around like butterflies. Actually, cocoons turn into moths, chrysalises turn into butterflies, said Iris. Tomato, tomato, said Magnolia. Iris stood still while Magnolia circled her with the sheet, slowly sealing her up. Eventually, only Iris's eyes were poking out, and Magnolia looked at this blinking person, sealed in a sheet, and decided they were going to be very good friends. Magnolia had just begun cocooning herself when the door flew open, the clattering bell shattering the peaceful atmosphere. I am never coming here again, a woman yelled. Do you understand me? Magnolia watched from the hole in her sheet, wincing from the force of each word. If the woman had speech bubbles, they would have been spiky like sea urchins, jutting out like spears.
That's a really good figurative language example. So do you understand me? I am never coming here again, the woman yelled. Sounds like she's a little angry. If there was speech bubbles around what she's yelling, They would have been spiky, like sea urchins, so really spiky speech bubbles, jutting out like spears. So that's how loud and angry she was yelling. That's like how spiky her voice was.
This is a $200 blouse you ruined, and I am utterly infuriated. The woman's face was flushed red, and she was screaming so loud her earrings quivered. She flapped the shrunken blouse in front of Mrs. Wu, swatting her face with silk. "Sorry," said Mrs. Wu. "I'm sorry. Read the instructions. If you can't understand English, you shouldn't be running a business." The woman chucked the blouse at Mrs. Wu, and Magnolia watched as it engulfed her mom's face like a floppy stingray before sliding off. The woman grabbed her purse, turned to leave, then pointed directly at the sockboard. "Dirty socks as decoration. Disgusting. No wonder this place isn't functioning." The woman slammed the door, causing the sockboard to swing from side to side before falling, with a quiet thud, to the floor. Magnolia stood in shock and silence, her sheet slightly unraveled, popsicle juice dripping down her elbow. Even when the blouse woman was gone, her anger lingered in the air, thick like smoke, causing Magnolia's throat to burn and her eyes to blur. She hated when people yelled at her parents like that. It had happened a few times before, but Magnolia would always retreat to the back room, where the harsh sounds became muffled and far away. Mrs. Wu turned to the girl. "Don't worry," she said, gently swatting her hand in the air. "Nothing, nothing." Magnolia stared at the sockboard, lying face down on the ground. The woman seemed to confirm a doubt in Magnolia's mind, that it was a stupid idea, advertising customers' lost items, and embarrassing that she'd hoped for answers. She felt like she'd somehow made things worse, which was why, without a word, she walked right over to the sockboard, picked it up, brought it outside, and leaned it against the pile of black trash bags on the curb.
That's so sad. She almost, in the beginning, had a hope for these socks to find their other pair, even though it's most likely they were eaten by the dryer. But it was almost like a hopeful, positive board, and kind of creative and silly if you think about it. And then this angry woman who came in kind of ruined that for her. That's a kind of peer pressure, isn't it? Now, that woman that came in wasn't really a peer, but because she made a nasty comment about it, that made her feel so embarrassed that she got rid of a board. What do you think about that? How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel bad for Magnolia? Does it make you feel angry at that woman for making her feel embarrassed? What are you feeling about this?
When Magnolia came back inside, her mom had already returned to folding clothes into perfectly crisp squares. Iris's sheet was in a crumpled pile around her feet. Magnolia didn't know what to do or say. She wished her mom would abandon the piles of clothes, lock the door, and spend the evening with her eating ice cream, talking about what happened, with nobody coming in to bother them. But Magnolia knew the incident was over and would never be brought up again. So she stayed quiet while the mood stayed sunken as her chest ached and anger simmered throughout her body. She thought that would be the end of the story, but only because she couldn't see the inside of Iris's head. If she could, she'd see that Iris already had a plan.
Before we move on to the next chapter, what is Iris's plan, do you think?
The NYC Sock Detective. All night, Magnolia's mind had stewed, cooking up responses to the blouse woman. She imagined herself ripping out of her cocoon and saying, "My mom can speak English, and even if she didn't, she can speak Chinese, and that's a billion times harder. English only has 26 letters, and there are thousands of Chinese characters, and you can't even write one. But then, her fantasy would fade and be replaced by the memory of her mom apologizing while Magnolia had been frozen, unable to think or speak. In the morning, Mrs. Wu instructed Magnolia to drop off a bag of peaches at Salty Mussels for Iris's mom. So Magnolia set off down the sidewalk. She was still fired up, swinging the bag in circles when a peach flew out and smacked a boy, and that boy's name was Luis. Luis was in Magnolia's grade, and his dad, Mr. Mateo, worked at Hair Barbershop, which meant Luis dropped off black barber capes at the laundromat every week. When Luis and Magnolia were younger, they'd put on the clean black capes and pretend to be judges, or sometimes bats. But that was when they were kids. Now, Luis was much taller than Magnolia. He had a spiderweb design shaved into the side of his head, and a necklace with small silver scissors. Whenever Magnolia saw him, her hands clammed up, and her stomach became tingly, like she'd swallowed glitter. And now he stood before her, laundry bag over his shoulder, slightly keeled over from the beach. "Luis," said Magnolia, "I didn't mean to..." "That's okay, Magnolia. I'm on my way to drop off this laundry and help myself to some of your red bean ice cream," said Luis. "My reward for surviving the beach attack." Then guess what? He winked. The good, quick kind of wink, like a shutter snapping a photo. "Bean it up," said Magnolia. That was it. That was all she said. And she didn't even know what it meant. She tried to wink back, but ended up scrunching her face before relaxing.
Have you ever tried to wink back at someone and you didn't really know how to wink? Try winking right now. Now, if you're just listening to this book by yourself, you probably won't be looking weird. But let's say you're in a classroom full of classmates, you're probably looking kind of funky trying to wink your eyeball. It's a tricky skill to learn. My 6-year-old is attempting to learn it and really scrunches his face, almost blinks both of his eyes in attempt to learn how to blink. It's a tricky skill that hopefully you learned a while back, and if you've never learned, it's just simple. You try to shut one of your eyes quickly and open it back up again, but you only shut one eye at a time. Which eye are you blinking? Is it your left eye? Try blinking with the opposite eye that you're trying to blink with. It's a tricky skill.
She watched Luis walk down the sidewalk, carrying the laundry bag, as if it was light as a hacky sack. When Magnolia arrived at Salty Mussels, the music was pumping so loud the windows were vibrating. Ms. Lamb's face was glossy with sweat, her booming voice leading a group of women who were all punching the air as if pummeling an army of ghosts.
As if, so it's almost like a simile. Pummeling as, strong as if pummeling an army of ghosts. So, although there aren't literally ghosts there, they are working out. So they're doing some sort of exercise and they're punching the air in front of them as if they're punching ghosts or pummeling them.
Magnolia was mesmerized by the way all the women followed Ms. Lamb's every move. Magnolia was about to hang the bag of peaches on the doorknob when she spotted Iris in the back corner waving her over. Magnolia slunk along the back wall, following Iris into an equipment room full of weights and 2 large exercise balls. "Take a seat," Iris said, gesturing toward one of the bouncy balls. Magnolia balanced herself on the giant oar, setting the peaches on the floor. Iris closed the door. "Sorry that lady yelled at your mom yesterday," said Iris. Magnolia shrugged. "It's happened before. Like my mom said, it was nothing." Iris shook her head. "It's not nothing. People have been mean to my mom too, and I can't stand it."
What is your opinion about this? Magnolia seems more nonchalant about it, like, it's okay, it's happened, it was nothing. But Iris is the opposite. She said, it is something. It matters that someone's treating your mom terribly or in a bad way. The girls are having different opinions on this. Do you think Iris is going to convince Magnolia that it isn't nothing and that they have to do something about it? Make a prediction and think, what are the girls going to do next?
Really? Said Magnolia. Your mom seems so bold. Iris leaned forward. When my mom was training to become a fitness instructor, I helped her study the names of all the exercises. Grapevine, mountain climbers, all that. On her first day, she accidentally called jumping jacks jumping Jasons and called burpees burping. Anyway, somebody said to her face that she wasn't qualified to teach, which isn't even true. I wish I'd said something. When people start yelling, I get quiet, like my mouth's full of glue. Magnolia nodded. She knew the feeling. Iris stood up and pulled her knapsack off the shelf. After I left yesterday, I saw your socks on the street and couldn't let them get tossed. She reached her hand inside and pulled out a bunch of socks. Magnolia was confused. It's okay, you can have them, said Magnolia. I don't need them. The sock board was a good idea, said Iris. You can't let one lady's opinion ruin it. But you also can't wait around for people to come by. You have to go make it happen. So I'm going to help you return each sock to its rightful owner, and you're going to show me around New York City. It had never occurred to Magnolia to take action to return the socks herself. She thought of life as something that unfolded around her and happened to her, while she was content being an observer.
How easy on a scale of 1 being super easy to 10 being the most dramatically challenging thing she's ever done in her life, do you think returning mismatched socks to their original owners in a city with millions of people is going to be? 1, super easy, 10, dramatically challenging. I would also say that it is above 10, probably a 12 to 100.
I thought you didn't like New York, said Magnolia. It's noisy, super germy, very cementy. But if I'm stuck here, I might as well get to know it. Plus, you'd be helping your parents' business, making customers happy. You know there's 8 million people in the city, said Magnolia.
8 million.
How do you expect us to find the right ones? Think of it this way. Each sock is a peek into someone's personality, said Iris. Each pattern is a clue. You know your parents' customers in your neighborhood better than anyone, right?
She's got a thing here. Each pattern is a clue. So think about a pair of socks that maybe only you in your entire school or somewhere you work or out of all your friend groups, only you have that pair of socks. Maybe it's a special, unique pair of soccer socks. Or maybe it's a pair of socks that have frogs on them. Suggesting that idea because my boys have socks with frogs on them. Or Buddy the Elf, or popcorn kernels, or what are some unique ones that I've had? Maybe one with like my cat's face on them. Oh, I got custom socks. So I'm probably, literally, because it's my cat's face, the only one in the world with pictures of Heather, my cat, on my sock. I also, when I got those socks, printed a picture with my baby's face on them when Dakota was a baby. And so his face is on a pair of socks that no one else in the world has. So I don't think the socks that were on her sock board, if we flip back, were any of the similar socks that I had. But there's flamingos and smiley faces. But if there was a sock that had my cat's face on them, she would know, oh, that's probably Mrs. Neeley's. There's different clues that might be on socks, or maybe initials or things like that.
It was true. Magnolia knew almost everyone within a mile radius of the laundromat. The muscly man with twinkly star sheets that helped soothe his nightmares. The lady with paint stains on her overalls. The kid with guinea pig hairs on his pajamas. The list went on and on. She knew enough to make informed guesses. We'd be a team. You lead us to people, and I'll be there to help you, said Iris. Magnolia nodded, and it was there, inside the equipment room, that the NYC sock detective was born. Magnolia was not a trench coat wearing, magnifying glass holding detective. She wore a simple t-shirt and reasonable sneakers, and her strengths were asking questions and being able to talk to people. Most importantly, for the first time in a long time, she had a friend. Someone who believed in her before she did, which is a powerful thing. I'll be the official sock shielder in charge of guarding all socks and keeping records of our returns, said Iris. How do we begin? Said Magnolia. Stream of consciousness, said Iris, picking up a black and white checkered sock. Look at this sock and let your mind flow like a stream, following it wherever it goes. Say whatever images or thoughts appear first. For example, black and white squares make me think of race car drivers, piano keys, soccer balls.
Are there anything else that black and white squares make you think of? I feel like these are the main ones for me too, but I'm trying to think of something else. Maybe like the yin and yang symbol where it's black and white circles swirled together. What other things are black and white? Maybe a car. I know the racetrack one. One of my friends has a pair of shoes that have these checkered pieces on them. They're Vans, so that makes me think of those shoes.
Stream of consciousness, S-O-C, said Magnolia. The sock method for finding socks. I like it. So I can guess anything? Anything, said Iris. We're idea dumping. Magnolia stared at the sock and then closed her eye. Chess. It makes me think of a chessboard, which makes me think of...
That's a good one.
Carl. Magnolia knew there was a corner of Washington Square Park where people played chess every day. Passers-by could sit down and challenge people to games or take lessons. Magnolia had always preferred checkers, as chess was too complicated. The little castles and horses could be confusing. Too many rules, all the zigzagging and jumping.
Oh, I can connect to Magnolia's exact emotions with it being confusing. I know how to play checkers, and I play quite a bit right now. When I was younger, I played checkers often, but chess confuses me. I don't know which direction they move, and they can go backwards, and when I've seen it in the Harry Potter movies, it just confuses me more. It's just something I've never been able to grasp. However, my husband, he's an Eagle Scout, and he learned how to play chess and is quite good at it, so he says. But I can make a connection to Magnolia. Can you? What do you think is easier, checkers or chess?
Magnolia was smart. She was definitely smart. Just her own kind of smart. I know where we can find Carl, but I'm not sure he's the right answer, said Magnolia. We don't need the right answer, said Iris. We just have to begin.
Okay, we are going to stop here for today. And I love the quote that we're ending on. We don't have to need the right answer. We just have to begin. We can apply this quote to anything in life, whether it's a math problem or a friendship relationship. You don't always need the right answer right away, but you have to begin. Even if you don't know how to start a problem in math, you can attempt, and if you're wrong, you'll learn from your mistake. But if you just sit there and don't even try to begin, then you're never going to learn. You might get it right, but you have to begin. You have to start. You don't always need to be right. Same thing with friendships. If you do something and it actually makes your friend upset, well, you learn from that and you become a better friend. But you don't always need the right answer right away. You just have to try. Okay? Thank you for reading part 1 with me of Magnolia Wu Unfolds It All. This has been a cute start of this book so far. Make a prediction about what do you think is going to happen in the next part of our story. You think they're going to find Carl and match him to his matching sock? Do you think this book is going to be all about finding sock owners and helping the laundromat be more successful and nicer looking than what that angry lady claimed it was failing and gross and things like that? Thank you so much for reading with me today. I'm very proud of you and your reading skills. I hope you have a brilliant rest of your day.